Welcome back to the Anfield Exchange, and tonight Liverpool take on Newcastle at St James's Park. I know what you're thinking, where have I been? The video should have been out on Saturday. I've had some massive camera issues over the weekend. I've probably made this video 4 or 5 times and then deleted it because the quality just wasn't there. But as you can see, we've got some new overlays, so hopefully you like them. Yeah, massive game tonight. We seem to be in this situation where Newcastle have turned it into World War III for some reason. I'm seeing all these tweets on social media that Joe Linton's going to snap Liverpool's players' legs, and you know what I mean, all this stuff on social media. It's absolute nonsense. The fans will be up for it. It's going to be reminiscent, really, of the Carabao Cup final, where on the day Newcastle fans outsang us and they outperformed us on the pitch. They went on and win the trophy and lift the trophy. We need to learn from that. It's going to be a similar game to that. We need to watch that back, learn our lessons, learn where we went wrong, watch the lead up to it, and change things into this game. I think it's a lot easier in this game because obviously we won't have Alexander Isak playing for him, whereas in the Carabao Cup final we did. And look, he's a game changer. We know that. That's why Liverpool were interested in him. But it's a positive thing that he's not playing. We watched him last week against Aston Villa, where they were probably the better team. We played the majority of the time with an extra man when Ezri Konsa got sent off, and he just can't put a ball in the back of the net. Not saying he won't be able to do that against us tonight, but it certainly helps when Alexander Isak's not on the pitch. So yeah, the atmosphere is going to be a bit tasty. Social media is going to be in meltdown for this game, but we've just got to do what we do. We've got to stay professional. At the end of the day, we are Premier League champions. These guys are professional footballers. They're very good footballers. They know exactly what these kind of games are. They've played in these games before, and it's all about staying composed, taking control, quieting the crowd, and then doing what we do. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game, and I think the world's gonna be watching it. I'm gonna go with my starting lineup now. I think in terms of a starting lineup, look, it speaks for itself for me. I don't think there's going to be any shocks in this lineup, but get in the comments and let me know if you disagree with anything I say. So I think Alisson's going to be in goal. I think in defence we're looking at Kirkes left back, Van Dijk, Konate centre back, and Dominic Szoboszlai in the right back position. The reason I'm going for Kirkes, so I was floating with the idea of potentially playing Andy Robertson tonight. The one thing that puts me off that is the pace of Anthony Elanga, and if Elanga is in a one-on-one situation with Andy Robertson, it's goodbye Robbo, because he will not be able to keep up with him. And that's the only reason I've gone for Kirkes. I think Arne Slot needs to have a conversation with Kirkes, have a little word with him before the game and just say, look, calm down. I don't need any of that rash challenges that you were putting in against Bournemouth. I just need you to stay on your feet. And yeah, stay on your feet, hold your man up, don't be diving into tackles, because if you do that, it's going to be detrimental to Liverpool. The reason I've gone for Szoboszlai, I just think Joe Gomez and Conor Bradley, although they are back and they are in training, I think it's probably too soon for both of them to play 90 minutes. I'm more than comfortable with Dominic Szoboszlai playing at right back. I think he's athletic, he's quick, he'll be up and down the pitch, and he's got a good passing range. So yeah, I have no issues with Szoboszlai at right back. I know a lot of people are saying put Curtis Jones in at right back because we need Szoboszlai's athleticism and physicality in the middle of the park. For me, I'm not on that. I think Curtis Jones he's a culprit sometimes of holding the ball for too long. And I think this Newcastle team, especially with the fans behind them, are going to be on us. And it's one of them games where we're going to have to basically play two-touch football. Touch, pass, move. That's how we have to play today, because they will be on us and they'll be looking to, if we don't release a ball soon enough, we'll either get crunched or they'll win it back. So that's the reason I'm not going for Curtis Jones. In the middle of the park, I think, again, pretty obvious. Gravenberch, McAllister, Florian Wirtz. Again, I'm seeing a lot of people on social media saying maybe we should play Florian Wirtz out on the left. Not for me. We've signed him as a number 10. He's one of the best young talents in the world. He's one of the best players in the world currently. And we spent a lot of money on him. So why wouldn't you play him in his strongest position? The physicality of the Premier League. I think Florian Wirtz probably needs to sort of get up to speed with. But I actually think this could be one of them games where it's a breakout game for Florian Wirtz, and he could make that mark in this game. I certainly think it might help with the way Newcastle play as opposed to the way Bournemouth play, especially with the fans on their side. I think Newcastle might come out to attack, and Florian Wirtz will probably be able to pick up them pockets a lot easier than what he did against Bournemouth, who were a little bit more reserved and a little bit more a counter-attacking team in that game. So yeah, I think this is set up for Florian Wirtz perfectly. What a relief it's going to be having Ryan Gravenberch back as well. I think I never realised how important he was. Obviously, I knew he was a top player, and I knew that he was an important part of our team for last season when we won the league. I didn't realise having him out for the last 2 games, how that would impact the squad. And that's probably because we've got new players in there like Frimpong, like Kirkez, and that sort of back line hasn't really worked up until now. But I think he's going to be massive for Liverpool tonight. I think he's going to help us break up the counter-attacks before they become counter-attacks. And he's also going to help us getting the ball from midfield into attack quicker as well. So, yeah, welcome back, Ryan Gravenberch. I think hopefully McAllister's fully fit now and he's up to speed, because on his day, for me, Alexis McAllister is still our best midfielder. But, yeah, and then the front three, Ekitike, Gakpo, Salah, again, speaks for itself. Love that Chiesa got minutes against Bournemouth. Love that he basically scored the winning goal. I think he'll get more minutes against Newcastle tonight, but he's not going to start. And obviously Rio Ngamoa will be on the bench as well. Potentially he'll get some minutes. We'll have to wait and see. It depends how the scoreline goes. I think it's a little bit worrying that, not worrying, but I think Arne Slot's shown when we need a goal, he's probably not going to turn to Rio Ngamoa. And that was justified in the Bournemouth game because he broke Chiesa on and he got that goal. What I will say, big occasion today for Hugo Ekitike. He can go out there and put a statement down and just show that he is the number 9 for Liverpool. Despite what shirt number he's wearing, he can go and put that statement down and say, look, I'm the man. You can bring Alexander Isak in. You can do that if you want, but I ain't going anywhere. And if he keeps performing the way he has done in the first game against Bournemouth and in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, what can you say? It'll be hard to sort of drop him. And look, we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Isak deal. But yeah, I'm more than happy with Hugo Ekitike. And it's slightly ironic that Isak won't be playing for the team he plays for in Newcastle, but the guy we wanted to replace Isak will be playing for Liverpool. So I love that. And I think when you've got a story like that, I think it tends to end in these players scoring a goal at least. But yeah, looking forward to seeing Ekitike again. Hopefully Salah's not going to come up against Dan Burn, because I think Dan Burn is just, if he does, Dan Burn is just a type of is a 90s defender, in it. He's just going to hoof everything in front of him, whether it's a ball, whether it's Mo Salah into Rose Ed. So yeah, we'll see how Mo Salah does as well. And Cody Gakpo, I think we know what we're getting from him. Normally a 7 out of 10, sometimes a little bit better. Key battles in this game, I think midfield is going to be potentially where it's won or lost. I think I've said this before. I genuinely believe that Joelinton, Gameres and Tonali as a midfield are potentially one of the best midfields in Europe as a combination. Individually, I don't think they've got a player in there that you would normally say is one of the best players in Europe. But as a midfield, they work so hard together. They complement each other. And yeah, I think Joelinton's probably one of the most underrated players, if not in the world, certainly in the Premier League. I'm a big fan of Joelinton. So yeah, the midfield is where it could be won and lost. I think, like I said, we need to get on the ball and move it early. We need to keep Newcastle chasing shadows, because the minute they put a crunching tackle in, or the minute they win the ball back, the fans are going to be onside, and we need to quieten that crowd. And we need to. The best way to do that is by keeping possession and controlling the game. So massive game for all the midfield on both teams today. Like I say, I think that's where it could be won and lost. I'm also interested to see how Kirkez gets on against Elanga. Again, another player that I actually really rate in Anthony Elanga. I think he's very, very good. I think maybe he needs to up his goals and assists, but in terms of what he offers a team, I think he's brilliant, and he's very good on the counter attack. He's very good at dribbling. He's so quick. Kirkes is going to have his work cut out tonight. So yeah, again, another one to keep an eye on. Now, I think this game, obviously we've got Arsenal coming up, and in terms of momentum, I think this is a massive game for Liverpool. We know that it's only 2 games into the season, but what I would say is if we can go out and get 3 points in this game, it sort of eases the pressure for the Arsenal game, and we can. I'm not saying we will or we want to, but there's less pressure on us in that game. So if we do drop a couple of points, we're already sitting on 7 points before the international break, which from the first 3 games and the games that the teams that we're playing, I think will be a good start to the season. The reason I talk about momentum and the upcoming fixtures is obviously it's a tricky start, but if you remember last year, the first international break, we got off to a good start, and then when we came back from international football, we played Nottingham Forest at Anfield and we got beat 1-0. We looked sluggish on that day, so it can happen where your mind's not back in club football, and if we've got the points on the board early, like we did last year, then we can wear one of them losses if that was to happen. I'm not saying it will. So yeah, it's vital we get some momentum. Obviously, after game week 1, I would have said that Man City are probably our biggest challengers for the league title this year. I thought we looked really impressive against Wolves. Then they went out and got beat off Spurs, and it looks like there potentially could be similar issues there to last season, and maybe in the first game against Wolves it was just sort of papering over the cracks. Maybe Wolves were just that bad. Again, we'll have to wait and see. But Arsenal played 2-1-2. We want to keep the pace with them. We don't want to drop points here, because if we do, look, if we got beat off Newcastle and then Arsenal went and beat us next weekend, we're already 6 points behind Arsenal. And yeah, it's not, the Premier League's not one of them leagues where you want to be opening up gaps like that too early, because it does get hard to claw back. But yeah, in terms of momentum, we definitely need to get the momentum going, and we need to get the points on the board early. I think that's absolutely vital. Okay, so Newcastle fans, if there's any Newcastle fans watching this, I suggest you turn off now, because I'm going to talk about Alexander Isak a little bit. I have made videos about him, but probably not in depth, because it seems to be an ongoing thing, and I was very conscious with the Florian Wirtz transfer. I was making video after video of Florian Wirtz until the deal went ahead. I didn't want to do that with Alexander Isak, but I am going to talk about him a little bit here, because I genuinely believe that Alexander Isak will be a Liverpool player. I've maintained for a few weeks now, and I've said it in previous videos, I don't think any deal was ever going to happen before this game. Newcastle would not want the first game at St James's Park to be against Liverpool with an Alexander Isak up front. Absolutely no way it was ever going to happen. I think what we'll probably find from tomorrow, I think Liverpool might put a bid in tomorrow, so keep an eye on social media there, because I think it's going to be a busy day on Tuesday. But I do think a deal will get done before deadline day, probably by Friday. But get in the comments and let me know, do you think we're going to get Alexander Isak? I believe we will. I believe we've probably got the money. It won't be for 150 million like Newcastle fans are saying. I can't see a world where Liverpool would pay that. I think we're probably going to look at around 130 with potential add-ons of maybe 10 million. But yeah, it won't go all the way up to 150. But yeah, I'd be amazed if it doesn't happen, because from what I hear, if what the club are saying, it doesn't look like we're looking at other targets. I'm seeing a lot of reports in the media regarding Malik Fofana, and Rodrigo seems to be resurfacing again. I think this is just rumours to sort of play a part in the Isak deal. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Isak deal. To be honest, I'm more worried about the Guehi deal. He's played in the Champions League for qualifiers for Crystal Palace. He played. When did Palace play? He played yesterday against Nottingham Forest. So look, he seems to still be a part of Crystal Palace. I think it's one of them. I think it's one of them scenarios where the manager obviously wants to keep him, but the owner doesn't want to lose him for nothing, and obviously the player wants to leave. So it's a sticky situation. But yeah, I'm more worried about that. But yeah, Alexander Isak, he will be a Liverpool player. Mark my words. It won't be 150 million, but things will start to accelerate after this game because it's then out of the way. Newcastle wouldn't have to see Alexander Isak back at St James's Park until next season after this game. So yeah, I think a lot of it can all die down. The club can sort of manipulate it the way they want to, the way they have been doing, where we're painting Alexander Isak as a bad guy. I don't necessarily believe that's the case. I think there's been broken promises, like Isak said in his statement the other week at the PFA Awards. There's been broken promises. Eddie Howe's even come out now and said that, yes, there's been conversations where Isak's said he wants to leave. So, yeah, there's a lot gone on. I think it's in everyone's favour now to get that Isak deal over the line. It doesn't suit anybody by Isak staying at Newcastle. Isak said he's not going to play for the club. So Isak's losing out there. The club's losing out there. They've also got a 120, 130 million pound asset that is no good to them. So surely it would make sense to let him go. I think there's a lot of people online that are talking about this with their emotions and not looking at it from a business point of view, because let's be honest, that's what football is. As much as I don't like it, football is now a business, and these guys in charge are businessmen. So if they've got something that they can't use is worth 120 million quid, they're going to let it go and bring that money in, and it'll help strengthen. Probably not now, it's a little bit late. They have spent a little bit of money, but certainly in January there'll be money to spend, and it'll give them another sort of 5 months to find their targets if they've got the backroom staff in place. So we get the money in, they have the time to look for the targets, and they can get the deals done early in January. I think it's a no-brainer on all parts. Everybody wins. Liverpool get the man, Isak gets his move, and Newcastle get the money to go out and strengthen. I think a lot of clubs go through this, and it's not nice at the time. I remember when Coutinho left Liverpool, I was not happy at the time. I wanted Coutinho to stay. But looking back at it now, we brought in Alisson, we brought in Van Dijk. It allowed us to strengthen as a squad as opposed to an individual. And obviously the rest is history. I know Tottenham tried to do it as well, less successfully. When Gareth Bale left, they brought in the likes of Soldado and Eric Lamela, a few players like that sort of flopped in the Premier League. So yeah, it's all about having the backroom staff in place to make sure you're spending that money wisely. Otherwise, you're going to end up being a Tottenham as opposed to being a Liverpool. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if the Isak deal's going to go through. Also, get your score predictions in the comments below. I'm going to give my score prediction now, and I think Liverpool are going to... I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Liverpool will win 2-1. And I'm going to go for goals for Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, and for Newcastle, I think Anthony Gordon. I saw a stat that he's not scored in 20 Premier League games. I just think he tends to up his game when he plays Liverpool. He obviously wants to play for Liverpool. It's his boyhood club. It's who he supports. And that could play a part into why he raises his game when he plays us. But yeah, I think Anthony Gordon. But 2-1 Liverpool. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'll see you on the next one.